All right, these next three sections are going to look a bit intimidating, but I don't want you to get scared off. You do not need to memorize and learn everything here in the string functions, number functions, and date, calendar, and time functions sections. These three sections of the chapter are mainly just for your reference to come back to later on. They provide just the basic, and there's a lot, but the basic operations that you get out of most programming languages. Some of them are very specific to Python though, but these are things like taking a string and automatically capitalizing everything, lowercasing, swapping case. And if you take a look through here, I want you to glance through it and see what's possible. So for example here, taking Homer and then capitalizing it, and you can see the output down here of each one. Changing that one to lowercase right here. Swapping case from Homer down to this version. Changing lowercase Homer Simpson to title case like this, and so forth. And then we have all these others here about it. You can check and see, is it lower, is it upper, is it title case, and return Boolean values. There are all kinds of crazy situations where you'll end up needing, or possibly needing, a lot of these. Here, this is a useful one. Get the length of a string. So print out, here we go, the length of Homer Simpson is 5. Get the min and the max character. You already know how to concatenate two together. You've done that. But get the min character, which means the lowest character in the alphabet, which in this case was an H, or the max, which is an R. Is S2 in S1? I can take and look at a piece of a string and say, okay, is S Homer inside of Homer Simpson? Or is it inside of just Simpson? Or is S not in S2? And it'll return all these Boolean values. Split is another useful one, to split a word or a phrase up into parts of a word or parts of a phrase. That can be useful at times. Right aligning, left aligning, justifying. Anytime you need to format or style a string, just come back to this section and take a look through here, and you're probably going to find what you're looking for. Find and replace is a common technique. I need to go through and replace all characters with a different character, or all substrings with a different substring to try and clean up my text data. Check and see if it starts with a number, ends with a number, is a digit, all these different things here. Each of these has come up. One thing I do like about Python is they have a lot of these sort of string and number functions that are particularly useful for data cleaning and data science tasks. So again, do not memorize all this. Don't stress out about it. There's a lot of it. Just glance through and see what's possible, and that's about it. Same thing here with number functions. There's a lot of these ones too. Getting the absolute value of a number, getting the maximum value out of a list. Power, 2 to the 11th right here, or rounding a number. This is useful. Let's round this down to 2 digits. This is a lot like that formatting function that we used in the prior section. A lot of these I've never even come close to using, but you never know when you might. So a lot of mathematical operators, power logarithmic functions, getting a natural log base 10 or 2, exponent, square root. These require often importing a package, which you haven't learned about yet, but you will a little bit later on. Just one line at the top that says import math, which is a package that then lets you access all of these functions. And it's math. It's at the math package dot, and here's the function name. So you can scroll through and just look at these. Generating random numbers, that's a common task we'll need in data science activities. That's about all the time we'll spend on here. Date, calendar, and time functions. This one is actually really useful, and I'd recommend you take the time to go through it. I'm not going to cover it here in the video because it's spelled out pretty well. How to get the current time, how to pull out pieces or reformat a date. We often get data in so many different date formats. Year, month, day, month, year, month, day, year, different time formats. There's a lot of them. How do I pull out just the day, the month, and the year, the hour, minute, and second out of a time? And Python has several related objects that a lot of them can do the same thing. There's a date time object, a date object, and a time object. And then a date delta. This is for getting the difference between due dates. Like for, how long has this occurred, or how old is something. You can use these functions to subtract one date from another and return the distance in days or in minutes or in seconds or whatever you want to. So again, lots of useful functions in here, good for glancing through. Do not sweat it. Do not stress about memorizing all of this. What I want to do is go straight down here to putting it all together. So this was our example we had earlier of trying to format, and I came up with another example of formatting the output that is a little bit different from this one right here. And I just want you to glance through it and see, some of the different things I did using the escape characters, the tabs, and using the round functions and things like that. Finally, to finish out this chapter, you've got several practice problems. So I recommend you go and take a look through these. I describe the problem, and then here's a link to one sample solution for each of them. So these aren't graded, not required, but come on here and see if you can practice some of the things you've learned. And then lastly, let me talk about your checkpoint. When you get to the end, your job is going to be to recreate a table like this that accepts any name, hour, and hourly rate for 3 people. So you've got 9 total inputs. Give me 3 names, 3 hours worked, and 3 hourly rates. And then go through and calculate, process gross pay. 10 inputs. You're going to need 10 things. You'll need each of those 9 pieces of data right there, 3 names, hours, and rates, but also ask for a tax rate. Also collect a tax rate. So then you can calculate everything else. This is all part of your processing step, calculating gross pay, taxes owed, net pay, and totals for all these across the bottom. So your job is to simply write the function that will generate a table like this. And I want you to include bold, underline, and color somewhere, anywhere in your table. And I've just given you an example here of where I include them. When you're done, you'll come in here and you might have some other questions to answer down here, but basically you're going to upload your results and answer some questions about your results. And that's it. Hope you've been able to get the basics, at least at a high level, of what the input processing output model looks like and how it works. And just come back to this chapter often whenever you need a reference on string number and date functions.